Hi, everyone. My name's Onno Coleman. I'm an executive coach and a leadership trainer and facilitator. And I like working with leaders to help them dramatically improve their leadership effectiveness. Now, often this means you've just been promoted from maybe a director to a VP or a VP to a C-suite, and there are certain new behaviors that you know that you need to be doing more of, but you actually find it a bit hard to get to the doing of those. And so I have a couple of videos in mind here. There's going to be one about leadership generally. There's going to be one about high-performing teams. And the one today is going to be about change and how do we overcome change. And I have a background in engineering myself. And so it really helps me when I have a mental model of how things work. Take something fuzzy like leadership and distill it down to 5 parts. Take something like teamwork, distill it down to 3 parts. And here's a 4-step process to help you overcome this knowing-doing gap. Courtesy of some very smart people from Harvard, Robert Kegan and Lisa Lahey, in their book, Immunity to Change. That'll contain all the information if you want to go deeper on this. So without further ado, let me continue here with the topics that I wanted to bring up today. So let's say you get promoted, and maybe one of these things is on your list that you need to get better at. You need to speak up more, or you need to delegate more, or you need to listen better, because you run over people and their ideas don't get met and the engagement is plummeting. Okay, so great, you learn to listen better. That sort of seems like it could be pretty easy. Just listen more. But for some people, for some of us, it's not that easy. And so we run into this limit. We bump into this sort of invisible boundary, this invisible electric fence around certain behaviors that we're allowing ourselves to have and to do. And so the helpful concept and framework here that Kegan and Lahey came up with was that in addition to having a physical immune system, we all have a psychological immune system as well. And like the physical immune system, it's trying to keep us safe at all times. And so it's scanning for threats. And if it sees a threat, it activates. Now, it doesn't activate T cells and antibodies like the physical immune system does. What it does is it activates behaviors. And so everybody's, at the time you're an adult now, you have a customized immune system that's been programmed in certain ways based on your experiences, based on your family of origin, maybe based on your birth order, based on the school you grew up in and the culture you grew up in. And did you get pushed hard, or did you get left alone, or whatever it was? You figured out how the world works and what your place in it is. And so if you figured out that the way to get ahead in life is to succeed and achieve, then you develop strategies to go and do that. And if your interpretation was that the way to get ahead was to be liked and to be likable, then you develop strategies to do that. And if there are other ways that you interpret how the world works, then you adapted to that. And then whatever the pressures and expectations on you were, those formed your immune system. And so there's a certain way that you're trying to show up in the world. And we could say this is subconscious and unconscious in a lot of ways. You have certain image that you're trying to maintain. And so your immune system is keeping you in that image. Let's imagine a sandbox. This is the sandbox of acceptable behaviors. If you want to succeed in life, Onno, you have to do these things. You have to be smart. You have to know the answers. You have to work harder than other people, blah, blah, blah. I have my immune system. And if I go beyond those boundaries, my immune system flares up and says, no, 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 too dangerous. You don't get to go there. And so then when I introduce a new goal, let's say I'm really good at doing things and I like getting things done and I get a lot of energy from that and I get a lot of kudos from that. But now I've gone up a level and I need to delegate more and I need to provide the vision instead of the actual tangible products. My immune system maybe freaks out a little bit and says, no, 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 no. You need to be doing stuff, Onno. You didn't do anything today. So get your hands on something. And then I might push one of my people out of the way and get my hands on something. This is not effective leadership for that level. So I get the feedback. Come on, you need to delegate more. You need to delegate more. And it feels like this inside of me. Okay, I know I need to delegate more, but I just can't. For some reason, there's a resistance to that. Or maybe I need to speak up more. And I've always just kept my head down and been a good worker. And now I need to speak up more because I'm on the executive team and comments and conversations flying around. And if I don't jump in there, my department's going to get left behind and I'm going to get left behind. So let's take that example and run with it. Okay, I know I need to speak up more. I've been told I need to speak up more. Why is this so hard for me? Other people don't seem to have a problem with this. Well, if we do the immunity to change process, we might find that a certain programming, what's holding me back is I'm allowed to speak up as long as, this is what my immune system says, as long as I don't upset anyone, and as long as it doesn't seem like I'm asking for too much and I'm too selfish, and as long as I don't speak up and say the wrong thing, because then I'll look stupid, and I really don't want to look stupid, and as long as I don't speak up too early or cut people off or somehow be aggressive. So as long as I can meet all those conditions, I get to speak up. And you can imagine the overlap of that Venn diagram is tiny, and so I'm not going to speak up. No matter how much I try, and no matter how many New Year's resolutions I make or how much willpower I make, even if I'm 5 out of 5, 100% committed, I know I need to speak up more. My job is on the line. I need to provide for my family. Well, guess what? Says the immune system. You also have 5 out of 5 commitment not to upset people, because you saw what happened when you upset people in your life, and you know what happens in the world. So don't do that. And if you ask for too much and you're selfish, people are going to reject you and they're never going to talk to you again. So don't do that. And don't say anything that makes you look stupid, and don't be assertive or aggressive, especially if you're a woman, because you're going to get labeled with the B word or worse. So try as hard as you might, 5 out of 5 just doesn't beat 19 out of 5. There's no amount of force or willpower or wrestling that's going to get that done. So how do we get out of this pickle? The way out is to help these little white immune cells let go of the rope a little bit and realize that they don't need to grip it that tightly. It's not actually life or death. And in the same way that a physical immune system might have an overreaction about hay fever or something, it's actually not life or death. It's just a little bit of pollen. I'm red and I'm crying in the face. And psychologically, I might have an immune reaction where I think that speaking up is kind of life or death, because I've built this image over time, and this is how the world works. And if I speak up and annoy people, I'll never get promoted again. And it seems very scary to go to that list. So once we've fleshed out, okay, what are the actual unconscious goals, the unconscious commitments that I'm stuck with? Why do I believe so much in those? And maybe I have a rule inside me, my operating system that I coded in when I was 9, that said, if I upset others, they'll never forgive me. And the rules tend to sound like this. They sound kind of extreme. There's a sort of sense of finality to them. If I take one step over that line, boom, I'm gone. This 0 to 100 feeling. That may have been the level of sophistication that I was capable of as an 8-year-old when I created that rule, or a 10-year-old or a 14-year-old or whatever it is. But now, as a 30-something, 40-something, 50-something-year-old adult, I can look at the rules that I made up once I see them fleshed out, right? Because they're buried in the operating system code. So let's bring them to the surface and look at them together. And it's probably more accurate to say that if I upset others, some people will always forgive me. I mean, some people will never forgive me. Then there's this spectrum in the middle where it's probably okay a few times. Maybe certain people it's okay, or it depends how severe the upset is. So I start to find a little gray zone here for this rule. And now when I go to the edge of my sandpit and I might be about to upset someone, instead of life or death, black and white, no, there's a bit of, okay, well, maybe it's okay this time. And then I actually will try speaking up. And now there's a little bit of freedom where I get to try on new behaviors, and they actually have a chance of getting in. So it's not going to happen by brute force. It's not going to happen by the tug of war. But if any of these behaviors or others are challenging for you, it might be because your immune system is at play. And so let's take a look at that together. And that's how we're going to get loose from this. And you're going to be able to succeed at that next altitude, at that next level, because what got you here might not get you to that next level. Thanks for watching. See you next time.